Belize, wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show by people. Belize our hopes are to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. Is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that must happen under God blue skies. I love it make people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play a role, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait? It's a time calling. It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Belize our hopes are to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. Is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that must happen under God blue skies. I love it make people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB.
All right, welcome. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. It's a Friday morning. It's the 14th day of February 2025. I'm Nuri Muhammad, and we welcome you to the program this morning, and we look forward to our conversation. It is the premier conversation every morning that brings up all the relevant topics for your own clarity, understanding, and for your engagement. Our telephone numbers are going to be given in a few minutes, and we hope that you will be participating with us this morning. As you know, we usually get an update on the weather from the Met Office. Today we'll be hearing from Tariq Matthews, and then we'll give you our package from our newsroom. And a little after 7 o'clock, we'll begin our conversation. Mr. Matthews?
Belize, relatively moist and windy conditions prevails over our area. The 24-hour forecast: cloudy skies at times today and tonight. A few showers will affect the country today, especially northern and central areas. Then, showers will decrease and become isolated tonight, except for a chance of a few more mainly over central and southern areas late tonight. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 88 inland, and 76 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 78 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 72 inland, and 65 up in the hills. The winds will be from the east at 10 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and the sea conditions will be moderate to rough. A small craft caution remains in effect for occasionally gusty winds and locally rough seas. Operators of small craft are advised to exercise caution. A low tide occurred this morning at 5:35. A high tide will occur this morning at 11:21. Another low tide this evening at 5:26, and another high tide tonight at 11:23. The sun will rise this morning at 6:19 and will set this evening at 5:54. The moon will set this morning at 7:39 and will rise tonight at 7:51. In the sargassum forecast, a gradual increase in sargassum is expected over the area during the next few days. The outlook for Saturday and Saturday night: skies will be partly cloudy to cloudy, showers will be isolated, with a chance for a few more mainly over central and southern areas Saturday morning. For a review of our forecast and other products, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. With that, we end this morning's forecast for the Belize National Met Service.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
The Trump administration's Office of Management and Budget sent out a memo last month suspending government grants and loans while it assesses expenditure to make sure it matches President Donald Trump's objectives and agenda. In addition to a federal judge's orders to reactivate money following the White House freeze last month, the administration is currently facing other lawsuits alleging that it violated the U.S. Constitution's authority over government spending. In the meantime, many groups who rely on grants are left in the limbo, possibly even a few who carry out projects here in Belize. Yesterday, the Honorable Francis Fonseca, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, commented on the situation, saying more time is needed to see how the country would be affected. He added that the government would be tasked with filling the gaps if needed.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a discussion. It's not even the U.S. Embassy here in Belize are still working on that issue to get clarity on what programs will be affected. I think you mentioned 40. They have said to us that perhaps about 16 programs that are underway may have some impact on that. So we're still not clear on exactly what programs will be impacted. But certainly, we're working with them to try to ensure that we get more information, and whatever gaps exist. Obviously, as a government, for any important programs, as a government, we will have to ensure that we fill those gaps. I met with the new Charge d'Affaires last week. We had a very good discussion. They are still gathering information, so we don't want to make any, premature requests. We want to wait until we get all the information and to see exactly what the impact will be. But of course, we are also preparing ourselves and making sure that we are identifying resources and funds.
Businessman Michael Feinstein has applied for an interim injunction to restrain the government from taking any steps to transfer or dispose of the 23.4-acre Stake Bank Island extension. You may recall that Justice Rajiv Guntelki on January 29, 2025, ruled in favor of the government regarding its compulsory acquisition of the property, with the goal of subsequently transferring the land to Stake Bank Enterprise Limited, SBEL, currently in receivership. The injunction application is dated on 12th of February, and it has been set for hearing on Monday, February 17. All reports are that the land has already been transferred to SBEL. At the same time, Feinstein has lodged an appeal of the judge's decision. Now that the Prime Minister has announced the date of the general election as March 12th, one of the claimants of the Belize Peace Movement, BPM, redistricting matter, Rody Wade, has submitted an affidavit seeking an expedited hearing. The affidavit is dated February 12th. Wade lists what has transpired so far in their constitutional claim to have the declaration that Schedule 1 of the Representation of the People's Act, quote, severely malapportioned, unconstitutional, therefore unsuitable for use in conducting the upcoming general elections, end of quote. Parties were originally directed to submit arguments on December the 3rd, 2024, on the principle of res judicata. My bad. That is, that the matter has already been judged. Written arguments were submitted on and before January 13, and since then, Wade says there have been no further directions from the court. He urges that the urgent adjudication is required now that the elections has been called, and asks for an urgent date to be fixed for oral arguments so that the matter can be concluded before Election Day. Belizean Ishmael Contreras, who says that he returned to Belize 6 years ago, has put together a driver's education manual that he hopes the government will approve for introduction into the curriculum in secondary schools across the country to prepare students for life after school. He explained that he decided to pursue the initiative after himself applying for a driver's license and realizing that the approval process is severely lacking. He has partnered with other community members to create this manual.
I had moved back home. I lived abroad for a while, and I had moved back home, and to renew my driver's license, they were like saying, hey, we would prefer you try to go ahead and do like a road test, retest, to get your driver's license to be able to, be certified to drive here in Belize. And when I went through that process, I realized that, they didn't really have a structured way of going through to like basically learning how to use an automobile, because the automobile is a form of a weapon if it's not handled with due care and respect. So I got burned out when I first started to try to implement the driver's ed. And what got me re-energized again was the loss of two of my family members, immediate family members, last year. Right now, most of the people that I'm collaborating with, we have 1 or 2 teachers here in Belize, but for the most of it are like several expats who are like, professional, who are business owners or CEOs. And we have, like trying to just get a couple of Belizeans to get on the same term to do it. It's somewhat tough. So most of us are like, for example, myself, I'm a Belizean by birth, but I lived abroad. And we have several expats and stuff that is collaborating with me who are working a specific field, like for example, the writing process. They specialize in literature, so they're the ones writing it.
Contreras says that it is expected that if government embraces the manual, the different relevant departments will review and finalize the document. It includes guidelines for vehicle safety, signs and traffic signals, pavement markings, lane travel, and others. Contreras envisions that this can lead to the creation of jobs for driving instructors. And that's our news package for the morning of 14th of February 2025. There's more news coming up in the program which follows us, excuse me, and that's a little bit after 12 o'clock. There's an update at 3 o'clock, and at 5:15, there's a full news broadcast on Creme Radio. Here on XTV, we bring you the full news broadcast with the optics, and that comes at 6 o'clock this evening. It's now 11 minutes to 7 o'clock. We'll take a very short break, come back, and begin the conversation for this morning. Stay tuned.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative.
back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. It's a Friday morning, and our number's here, 280-5848, and we welcome you to call in and to be part of our program this morning, not just as a listener, but as a participator. And we would like you to join us this morning. Our number, 280-5848. Let me say in the early part of the program that we send our condolences to our friend, our brother, Cisco Woods, a good man, a man who I have observed in his process as really, really caring for people, especially those that are disadvantaged. Respect to you all the time, Cisco. Our condolences to you for the passing of your wife, and we know that was a natural struggle for you, and we hope that God will make it easy for you as you readjust. We also want to send condolences to the family of Skippy Fuller. Man, I remember from 40-odd years ago on the Foreshore here in Belize City, a couple of times I would sit at his office there on Foreshore, and good conversation. An athlete, natural athlete, and a very lively person. Our condolences to the family of Skippy Fuller. We also had a good conversation with my friend, my mentor, Mr. Henry Young, and always good and always inspiring to talk to him. A man of substance, and I appreciate the friendship. And it's not always me calling him, sometimes it's him calling me, and I appreciate that respect that he gives to me. He tells me that they've just refurbished the basketball court at Bird's Isle. As you know, that's one of the only, if not the only, wooden floor for basketball. Most of the other floors are either cement or a mixture of thereof. And they've just refurbished that. So for those who want to engage in basketball, and clearly, you know, Bird's Eye is available. And respect to you, brother Henry Young, for the contribution that you've made in so many areas, entertainment, sports, entrepreneur, and as well as a politician at one point. So much appreciation for you. Our numbers here, 280-5848. We had a visit, distinguished gentleman sitting with some of the brothers that we deal with. We have been after the SOE doing a special program focusing on those brothers and sisters who have decided that, you know, they want to go through a process of disengaging from one lifestyle into another lifestyle. And that cannot simply be done by somebody scolding you and telling you, no, 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 you can't do that, you're bad. You have to move from there to this. That doesn't happen like that. It's not the way human beings behave. People get into their habits, they get ingrained in their habits so strongly, it makes their character of a certain kind of display, a certain kind of way in which they behave. But it's not just the behavior that you're observing at the time, but it's what accumulated over the years to get that behavior there. And so if you want to correct that, you can't simply correct it by slap somebody or beat somebody and it goes. You've got to work through that process. And so we have been meeting over the last 4 or 5 months, and we have invited individuals to come in and to reason with these brothers. I've named some of them who have come: Kareem Musa, Joe Cowie, Darrell Carter, General Arthurs. Several others have come in. I have not named all the persons that have come. But these persons always tell these brothers, look, I know in a gang life, I know in a that level at life at all. But I do know that I respect what you're trying to do to transform your life. I know that many things have worked against you, and so it's become a real challenge to you. But if you continue along this process, there are people like us who are not into gangs and not into that level of society that respect what you're doing and want to come here to give you words of encouragement to continue to do what you're doing. And so we have seen that. We've seen, as I said, Karim Musa, we've had Mr. Joe Coy, we've had Dickie Bradley, we've had others who have come in, and they come in specifically to talk to this group, to encourage them along this process that they're taking, which is a very therapeutic process, meaning with the get in your head, with the get in your behavior, with the get in how you think and how you end up where you are. Because, and let me give the number so that you know that this is not a monologue, 280-5848. One of the things that was brought forward by one of our guests was a profound point that he was making as it relates not just to these youths who are coming out of gang life, but it relates to all of us. And he was talking about the lack of education of the soul. That we go to school and we get an academic focus, we gotta get a brush of spirituality through Bible class and reading certain passages. But we don't work on the soul. We don't work on trying to educate the soul. Many of us don't understand the soul. We don't even know where that there. We hear about spirit, but we don't know where the soul. But he was talking about the fact that if you do not spend time working on who you are, and asking yourself questions like, why I born? Why I there for? What is the purpose of my life? Just to do what I do? Is that all it is? And then I just die, go in a hole, and that's it? Is that my whole life? Is that what life is about? So he provoked that conversation with those young men and women that particular day. And he was focusing on you asking yourself those critical questions. Why am I here? Why was I born? And who am I? Am I just that man or woman in the mirror? Or is there something else? Who am I? And why am I here? And it's so important that we be able to ask and answer that fundamental, seemingly basic question, but it's important that we ask that. So our number here, 280-5848. And I know you don't left me to be here talking and preaching, because that's not why I'm here. I'm here to share, but I'm also here to engage. So I don't know who will be the first to call this morning, but it's 280-5848. We did have a guest lined up for you this morning, as we did yesterday. But in this business, sometimes at the last minute, we get a call that the individual or the organization has a different schedule, they cannot make it. Yesterday we were trying to get permission from the Ministry of Health to have the individual who heads the NDAC, as you know, NDAC working along with the Ministry of Human Development and the UNICEF, just did a report, a very profound report that speaks about the level of substance abuse among our young people. But we couldn't get the ministry to approve this person coming. Welcome, caller.
Good morning, Nuri. This is Sandra calling.
Good morning, sister.
I'm calling because yesterday I would have called back, but a number of points came up in your discussion with our tour and otherwise that I find deeply troubling. Am I to understand that Belize is going to set aside all its commitment to climate change and all that goes with that to follow United States example and drill, baby drill? This is what we're going to do. Is that what it is? Was my understanding correct?
Yeah, I pressed him on that even after we got off the air. He said, no, he's not saying that. I said, but it certainly sounded as if you were saying that for economic survival and the way in which Guyana is moving forward with its own economy based on finding oil. Is that what we should go back to? And yeah, he suggested that, yeah, we need to do that. I asked him about U.S. capital. He said not necessarily that particular company, but that we should not completely leave that out. That's what he said to me off air. So it's a good question.
Do you consider that climate change is real or not?
You're asking me personally? Yes, of course. I believe it is. I think it has become highly political, and so there have been arguments, as you know, with if I want to call them climate change deniers, and that, as you know, Sister Sandra, goes way back to the 60s, when there was this evolving idea that ecology was new in our language, and that we needed to be very concerned about the environment and about nature. And if you remember that was a discussion, very high discussion back in the 60s, and then it sort of died out. And then it became a political argument as to those who were saying, you know, look at the glaciers, and the glaciers are melting, and we're really into a climate change.
All of that set aside, are they melting or are they not melting?
Well, we are seeing proof that they're melting. We're seeing proof. Yeah, we're seeing proof. And even in Belize, we're seeing it.
Just a minute, are the species from the tropical seas moving north, yes or no?
Yes, well, listen, don't take me up on the strength of my knowledge of that area. I mean, Moses is a little bit better on that area, but I can say from my observation of the news that we are most definitely in a climate change process.
Most definitely.
All right, yes.
If Greenland melts, imagine, Belizeans listening, imagine this huge mass of ice, almost among everything on the sea of ice and above the water. What you see above the water is only the tip. Greenland is a landmass covered in so much ice that the ice has pressed the soil, the land part, down into the sea. And should that melt, that amount of ice, use your imagination to figure the amount of water that will be released into the ocean. The amount of water that will cause the sea levels to rise. All over, it won't be only where Greenland is. It won't be in the Atlantic only. It will be the entire planet. And that is only Greenland. When that melts, we go to Antarctica.
Yeah.
So these things are really happening, and they're happening because the climate is heating up.
Yeah, but Sandra, you know, the argument is scientific, and then the argument is economic.
This is the problem, Nuri. If there is science to show it, why do we go to anything else other than the science?
Because
when the science is showing you, the evidence is there.
Yeah.
You can't have the evidence in the political sphere because that's being manipulated. Mr. Trump wants it for real estate.
Yeah.
What evidence they have happened, a group of people in this world have decided that they know climate change is there, you know. They know it's there, but they have decided to see what financial benefits they can get out of it. But they are seeking to get financial benefits out of utter tragedy, including their own.
Yeah, but Sandra, let me just introduce this area. You are really on the science, and we should not deny the science. But the argument has moved into economics. It has moved into, and this is not only Trump, this is also the Chinese and many others who continue to say that, look, our economic trajectory is based on fossil fuel. And for us to switch over because of what the science is saying.
I understand all of that.
Yeah, but that is the argument. The argument is not the science.
Just a minute.
Okay.
However, let's go to California.
All right.
Do you realize that the possibility exists of insurance for property will be offered nowhere in California?
Yeah.
Because the insurance companies are not prepared to meet the kind of demands and call on their resources that California will present.
Yeah.
As we speak in the Indo-Pacific, Vanuatu is at the ICJ calling for climate justice because there are islands in the Indo-Pacific that cannot be insured. The decision has already been made not to insure these islands.
Yeah.
Any property, no property there will be insured. So, how are we going to solve the economic if we don't solve the climatic scientific problem? How are we going to solve it?
Well, it's expediency, though. Sandra, you know, it's an argument that goes back many, many, many years. One of the things that...
Yes, Nuri, but you keep giving, I agree it goes back, but going back, it could go back a million years, you have to deal with it now because it's worsening now as we speak.
Yeah. The problem seems to me that the urgency, the immediacy has not captured the mind of world leaders. They keep putting it off. They recognize it, but they're saying, give it more time. Why? Because their economy would be drastically affected if they make...
At the end of the day, politicians want power.
Clearly. And they would have to pay us, developing countries, who don't have that carbon print that they have, to ensure that we, who are like losing in Monkey River and in places there, get what is necessary to help us to combat that and to work against that.
We have decided that we will, it sounds to me you're defending. We have decided, so it's correct that we have decided we got problems and the only way we're getting money is to start sell oil. So we're selling oil till the world collapse. That don't make no sense to me. That is an act of utter lack of intelligence.
I didn't say that, and I'm not advocating that. I am saying that the argument at the top of the pyramid are those persons who understand the science but are putting more importance on the economic responsibility that they have. We are telling them that we are not the ones that's causing this. You are the ones that continue to pump all this fumes into the air. So we are saying to them, but let me finish, Sandra.
When the industrialization,
Sandra, let me finish.
Revolution was to create market. And Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, we became the market for those same industrial products produced in that industrial revolution in the north. We became the market. And I don't remember us going on strike to not be a market for them. We accepted our market status and went along with it merrily, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm not sure we had a choice.
We are busy taking down forests. We'll take the lead right here. To grow cattle, we are turning vast areas of this country into savanna. We are doing that. We have made a conscious decision to do that because we don't understand. As long as you keep your... And the ignorance is not only in countries. Because right there in Europe, look at the European situation. Fire here, fire there, flooding here. A friend of mine lives in Scotland. Scotland had a hurricane, Nuri.
Wow.
That's not happening.
In Europe, wow. Yeah. And that's a tropical weather system. I don't know how it got so far up. But I read... Yeah.
It took off roofs of high-rise building and all of that.
Wow. I read something this morning also that in California, they're expecting another emergency, another weather emergency, because they said something about a tropical Gulf Stream moving in that area that's going to drop so much rain in that area. And even though they've been suffering from a drought, they can't handle the amount of rain that is coming.
Forest land has burned.
Yes.
So the forest land now is denuded of cover, and the root system is not there, nor the trees with leaves to trap that water.
Yeah.
So I want to move away from that. So that's the first thing that I said, am I hearing right?
Yeah. Well, just let me clarify. I was not saying that we need to go back and drill, even though I had that opinion about 20 years ago. because I did do a contract with B&E at the time, and I saw the sense. But when I recognized the economics of it, and that in fact this was not for the development of Belize, but for a very small cabal, I changed my thinking on that matter. I also have grown in understanding the climate crisis over the last 20 years, and some of the opinions that I had many, many years ago, I've been educated to see it a little bit differently today. Just to clarify. Yeah.
So my next issue is, Nuri, I am not going to look at France or Germany or whatever they are doing with snap elections. Do you consider it an act of true consideration of a people to call an election in 29 days?
Well, you know, that's a prerogative that is in this system, and it's not a surprise to me.
Yes, but the prerogative I'm talking about, respect, consideration, dignified exit, treating of people with dignity and sympathy and empathy. Is that an act of any of those things?
I don't have a problem because I know that we have been told that election is coming, and this idea of the Prime Minister deciding when it will be, we knew 2 or 3 months ago that election is coming. So if you were in a political, if politics is part of your concern, you would have known that it's not just 29 days before election that you're learning about election. You knew it was coming, and you knew what was eventually going to be our election before. Yeah, it was going June, it was going November. So my point is that, no, I don't think it is unfair that the elections are going to be held in 29 days, not in our case.
It's not unfair if you support a ruling party, and as you said yesterday, the People's United Party will win.
Well, I didn't make that as a blind.
They will win whether it's done in a proper circumspect manner, or it's done in a harem-scarum or certain circumspect manner. They will win.
Well, I wouldn't put it in a harem-scarum, but I would say, yes, I did make the statement, and I do believe that the United Democratic Party can win some candidates, but I don't think that they can become the next government of the day.
Given the matter that's now before the court on the redivisioning. By the way, the word I use is redivision.
I know you do.
Redivision, you can go to your constitution, section 88, I think it is, to 92, and that covers the electoral process in Belize. And in one of those sections, the word redivision is used. They use the word redivision. So my question is, why have you been allowing the use of the word redistricting when we have the redivision written into our very constitution?
Yes.
And why is this so important, Nuri? As I said to you on the friendly test the other day, and I said it again yesterday, and I'm saying it again today. A revolution was fought in this hemisphere on the basis of taxation and representation. And I am suggesting that the unequal distribution of constituencies, divisions in this country is the hallmark of an unequal, unjust, and unfair society. And that if the government be whoever they may be, because I don't vote for any of them, the day they take the number off the ballot paper, do the redistricting and all that is you see, when you study, the British gave us this constitution, damn well knowing that the constitution for Belize, Africa, the Caribbean would produce unjust societies. They already knew that. And they produced it, and we went along with it, and at some point in time, our ruling class, it suited them to go along with it. I repeat, representation with taxation without representation, translated for us is taxation without equal representation. Let's go south where there's a 10,000 division, and Belize City where there's a 2,000 division. The law, you know that the electoral law tells them that they are to divide this country, taking into consideration transport and other facilities. I don't know which other facilities, but they mention transport and physical features. How do you interpret that? Well, I'm going to tell you how I interpret it from the viewpoint of geography. If I have a piece of land measuring 100 feet by 100 feet, 100 feet wide, 100 feet square, and that land is flat, and I have to go from one point on the horizontal to the other point on the horizontal, I cover that area. I am going to cover 100 feet. Because the property, the land, is flat, it's completely level. But if on that land I have a mountain, a hill, whatever, and that hill goes up 500 feet on one side and comes down 500 feet on the other side, and the space between the end of that hill and the edge of the top is 25 feet on the other. So 50 feet is taken up with this hill. 25 feet is flat, 25 feet flat on the other side. The hill goes up 500 feet on one side and comes down. How big is how far my person has to travel on that plot and want to get from one side to the other?
Very long, very far. 500 feet up, 500, that's it.
Exactly. As opposed to the man who has to travel a
Straight.
long 100 feet.
Yes.
But the same side of the land though. But the physical features of the land
Is different.
change, the whole layout of the land changes. What the voters in that little piece of land have to pay as compared to the voters in the other piece of land.
Yeah, I think that was a point that Will Mehere was making, if you listened about 2 weeks ago, about the fact that in Toledo East, you don't have that many voting stations, and so people have to go long distances in order to cast their vote. And that is a kind of vote suppression, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But now let's come to the next thing. When you go south, my experiences in traveling in the south was I always paid more for goods than I would pay for that same goods in Belize, especially imported goods. I was paying more. But how come the people in the south are paying more with less income, and in the Belize city, they are paying me less? But Belize city has a higher value per individual than in the south. So you have a division in Belize city that might be 2,000 or 3,000 each. That individual in that 2,000 division has a higher value than the individual in the southern division that's 10,000. And yet they are paying more taxation. So definitely, the rule there is unequal taxation and unequal representation.
You're right.
That's there.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah. On that,
Yeah.
on that basis, you're making it very clear that those individuals who are paying less because they're in this urban environment and those who are in that rural environment paying more, obviously more means more taxes on top of what they would normally pay. And you're saying that in such a situation, without redistricting or without reportioning the electoral, you end up with taxation without representation. I get that point.
So that's the second point. My third concern, Nuri, a resounding call seems to me, I don't know if I misunderstood, and I get the understanding that it originates out of his deep concern for the plight of the black population, which Arturo Lizarraga did not want to agree with. Is that right or wrong?
Well, he hedged it a little bit, yeah. He hedged it.
Never had a little bit. He came right out and said, there's no problem, man. But Mr. Rivers sounded a call. But Mr. Rivers, like many Belizeans, think that the problem will be solved by a Messiah. No Messiah will solve this problem, Nuri. And it doesn't matter who you present as the Messiah. If it's Sandra Coyne, Nuri Mohammed, Yaya Marine, Philip Wilson, he's long dead. Mr. Richardson, he's long dead. None of us. This is not a one-person solution problem. The collapse of the black society requires that the black society pull up the waistband of its trousers and decide that it will go back to being an ordered, disciplined, methodical society. How in God's name you explain that we have become a literate community? How do you explain that, Nuri? When we achieve literacy after emancipation, by the time I was born in 1948, Belizeans were able to process complex written material. So much so that when the Webster proposals were released in 1960, Belizeans understood that on their own and were able to read it and understand the implications of that on their own. Well, where the Belizeans, whatever way the Belizeans, they were not going to interpret it for Belizeans. And there definitely was no crime around, no love around, no teletype around to do the interpretation. But the Belizeans interpreted it understood so well, anyway, that when Philip Goldsmith issued the call for Belizeans to come out and demonstrate total disapproval, that Sunday, the parade stretched up Windbridge, up Albert Street, around to Regency, come over the bridge into Northbound Street and at the American Embassy consulate. The people at the front, the people at the back, people never saw the consulate, but it was there in the parade, in the demonstration. That is the level of comprehension that the leaders had in that decade. Where has it gone, Nuri? Where has the literacy of the black community gone? Where? So that you have black people living in utter degradation right now. Utter degradation. I can't explain. So no. Get the idea out of the messianic that is not revolution.
But you
because
know,
that's the pathway that we're there.
Yeah.
We now have to, each one of us have to do what our slave forefathers did.
yeah.
And each person grab a hold of the reality that they are living with and seek to wrest it back into order.
Absolutely.
With order.
Yeah. Listen, Sandra, we
Arturo refused yesterday to acknowledge the point you kept making.
yeah, but I understand. I didn't ask him to come here because he agrees with me. He and I have for the last 30 years we have different opinions, but he is. Yeah, but let me lead to what my point. Let me lead
You were
to.
responding to something that concerns the population.
Yeah.
I come out.
Yeah, but let me say, Sandra, because you and I agree on this point, and I relate it back to our religious orientation. Our religious orientation, unfortunately, made us, and even today, we are waiting for a messianic figure to appear on the horizon to save the world. Many people will tell you, I had to wait for that man come back. So there's a kind of, I don't want to do nothing, because the solution is on the way. Now, how did that translate into our political reality? We placed a focus on people like George Price, people like Lee Richardson, people like Mr. Golson, even people like Evan Hyde. These persons became saviors. It's not saviors in the messianic area, but our political leaders came as a single person that, boy, once I give you my vote, you want to handle it, because me and you don't talk about this, you want to handle it for me. That is the old way. The new way is what you're talking about, and we have not evolved there yet, where each of us take a personal responsibility. Yes, you are the leader, but I also have a part to play in this process. So I don't just vote you in and then I sit back for 5 years and make you do what you want. The process that we're moving towards, some people say participatory, but even that it loses the point. The point is, nobody no one save you without you making the effort equal to save yourself. And that's a concept that we have not quite inculcated into our educational system so that people will understand.
The politicians have worked hard at doing just that. That's not
Well, you know, but it's no different than the England and British American. They look for their leaders as their saviors likewise. This is not a world where people participate, and the only way we will find that is if we go into socialists, communists, and some of these other ideologies where that responsibility falls on you, the citizen, to make a difference in your environment.
I agree with you on that.
Well, I'm just telling you that we are in a system here where, whether it's America or whatever, we make a big build-up for the campaign and for the election, and then after the election, we figure, boy, let them run now. No, we've got to be engaged all the way through the process.
I can't talk, man. This is a small society. Our leadership understands exactly what they need to do to make this up. If Singapore could have done it, why can't we? They don't want to and have inculcated in our people and raising it about taking charge of their lives. That's what we have done, but now we are in a storm.
Yeah.
Look at what has happened to Ukraine, Nuri. Look at what Mr. Man is proposing for Ukraine.
Yeah.
Give up the land. No, what is that debate? Because you did have this discussion with the then comes Zelensky, then takes his end goal to NATO, to tell NATO that the boundaries that Ukraine had before, look up on a man who boundary don't apply no more. Accept the reality. It's unrealistic to expect that Ukraine will go back to the former boundaries. It is also unrealistic to be planning for Ukraine to join NATO. No, I'm not for Ukraine in NATO, not for Ukraine in NATO. But that, so he said one man there, while the man saying something, he saying something, but in reality, that's the picture. And last week, he issued a statement that Ukraine has rare earth minerals. And what Ukraine can do is make its rare earth minerals available to the US. Well, that's exactly what he said yesterday. But you think it's only Ukraine? It's the Dominican Republic right here. Did you listen to the exchange with Rubio in the Dominican Republic?
No. What did he say?
Rubio's visit, Marco Rubio's visit to the Dominican
No,
Republic.
I'm saying I didn't catch it. What did he say? What did he say?
That. He spoke in Spanish and English just as he did everywhere else. And he started out by informing something that took me by surprise, and I got the impression from some of the Dominican people that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will be working along with the Dominicans to export the rare earth minerals in the Dominican Republic. That's what was said at the Dominican press conference. In addition, that confirms what I have always known, that the reason for the caretaking is the rare earth because of those developments. He went on to say that they are going to set up a semiconductor production structure in the Dominican Republic, evidently to use the same rare earth minerals, and that they are going to link the energy structure of the Dominican Republic with Puerto Rico. And he also chose the Dominican Republic to discuss the Haitian problem. So, we are not living in times when our leadership cannot become literally overnight have to make a decision to become upright, moral, ethical, sophisticated. Overnight, you know. Now,
Yes.
I know that's all order.
I hear
That
you.
is quiet.
Yeah, I hear
You
you.
don't
Sir.
have no other choice.
Yeah, but
No, at no time have you heard, and the same goes to Canada. It's the rare minerals in Canada they want, the oil and all of that. So, when they went to NATO to tell NATO that Ukraine new borders, then what Trump has done is to give permission for annexation. Because it is annexation that gave the Crimea to Russia in Ukraine and the additional territory, 20% of Ukrainian land, 20% of Ukrainian land. Do you consider that our leadership is really concerned about those things and see the significance of that problem? I don't have that impression, do you?
I don't. I think, but Sandra, you really, I don't want to, throw accolades at you, but the vantage point in which you look at things on a world level, using your accumulated knowledge of what has happened in the past, gives you an insight that many of us do not have, particularly politicians. Many of these things catch them by surprise because they didn't have the vision to see that, wow, these people are so ambitious that they really are bringing back the Monroe Doctrine. They really think that they can come into each one of these countries and put aside the elected leadership and say, guess what? This is the way we want to do, because this is what regionally we intend to do.
But then the Western Hemisphere, you reach the entire planet.
Yeah, indeed, beyond. Oh yeah, it's might make right, Sandra. I mean, this man is talking the same thing he's talking about our region. He's talking about Gaza. The same thing he's talking about Ukraine. So it is a mindset that Trump is representing, but there are others that have that same kind of globalist thinking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But Sandra, I gotta go. If you can call back and we can continue the conversation. I need to go to 2 Cents Scam.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sister. All right, let's go to 2 Cents Scam, and 2 Cents Scam is brought to you by 4 Point Security. My apologies. Yesterday I said time check. It's not time check. It's the time that we have, and I'll take this call later. But this time it's called 2 Cents Scam, and we have Brick City doing that.
Hey, you're watching WB. This is XTV. Got to say a big respect to our sponsors, 4 Point Security, and also Euphrates Auto Renter. You know it's Friday, and you know on a Friday morning, the Belizean people like give them 2 cents pan them big up. Right? It's Valentine's season. Let's go find out the people at 2 cents.
My wife, my son, and my daughter.
That's
my
it.
daughter, how
Pan the Valentine.
and my boss.
Don't say.
Don't say boss.
All right.
Sorry, Mr. Brick.
My mom, my parents, my family, and God too.
Big up. We all big up.
I want to big up my 3 daughters, Kimberly, Aiden. I want to big up my mom. She turned 92 On Thursday.
That you big up.
Yes, that might big up my mom. Here's the level that she's
Thank you.
Shout out to Alina, my best friend. Yeah.
Wait. That don't just fly past. The best friend.
Yeah, that's my best friend.
That is it.
10 years, best friend.
Valentine best friend.
Yeah.
That is it.
That is it.
Well, I just want to big up me Brownie fans there because the people keep me up. Real talk, man. I want you out there for the Valentine's. I have to say San Pedro. I want you out there so just about same way. I don't give up Belize on our breads. You understand me? But
very good.
We have to reach out and we have to make everybody feel the love. That's all, right? Yeah.
That
so
is
enough
it.
respect to everybody, man. Each one reach one.
All right. Yes. Big up Friday. Who you big up?
Oh, well, I want to big up all my grandchildren. And my son, Yellow, Dardar, Keon, and my daughter, Monique, that stays, and Baker, that stays, that LA too.
All
so,
right.
and I want to big up the whole city and everybody. Have fun and enjoy the Valentine. Stop the killing and more love.
All right.
That's all I want.
Tired of replacing light bulbs? LEDs are
right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes, and this is a Friday morning, the 14th day of February 2025. I'm Nuri Mohammed, and we welcome you to call in and to weigh in. The mandala for this week is out, and interesting point that Colin Hyde is making in his column this week. And there's a misnomer that Muslim men are promised 7 virgins when they die. And there are some men that say, boy, I want to be a Muslim because I could have 7 wives. And it is made in jest. It's not taken seriously. And it's almost in a way playing with concepts in Islam that is false. There is no promise of 7 virgins that will be given to you as a result of anything. That's not in the Quran. And this idea that a Muslim can marry 7 women is also wrong. A Muslim is encouraged to marry 1 wife, but there are circumstances that allow him to marry up to 4 wives. But the justice under which he can marry another wife besides his first wife has everything to do with the issue of justice and the ability to handle that situation. It's not a sex-driven impulse. It's not a whore. It's not legalizing whore. It's not you go jump in at this bed, jump in at that bed, jump in at that bed and say, yeah, I'm a Muslim. That is not a Muslim. That is a whore. A Muslim, when he gets another wife, takes a responsible oath similar to the oath he took with the first wife. But the circumstances for having the second wife or the third wife must be merited on the basis of justice. And it does take place. And something you need to understand likewise for those of you who continue to propagandize this issue. In the Muslim world, and I mean globally, monogamy, meaning 1 man and 1 wife, is the way. It's not as soon as a man becomes a Muslim, he starts looking around, where the rest of my wife then there. That's whoredom, and that is not permitted in Islam. It is certainly not in the Quran, and it's certainly not in the ways of the Prophet Muhammad. So it's important to understand that every time I see these false ideas, that we try to correct them, because many times it's just the carrying on of a false concept without going to the root and finding that out. I say again, there's no promise of 7 virgins, and that promise in terms of the paradise is no different than what you were promised in the Bible in terms of the being in a place of paradise, in a place of peace, where you don't need your name. What are you going to use your name for? I know you down here as John, Bill, Nuri, or Ahmed. But up there, it's a completely different reality. And we ought not to act as though we know what that reality is, because nobody has gone there and come back and say, I've been there, so this is what it is. So a lot of what is there is based on our faith. It's based on our understanding. But in terms of marriage, the marriage for the Muslim is 1 wife, 1 husband. And the circumstances that permits a Muslim man to have more than 1 wife must be justified on this basis of justice. And if you want to know how in-depth is that concept of justice, it goes beyond just economics. So anyway, here's another area that I think is important, and that is that Elon Musk, who is a businessman and a very successful businessman, I hear all kind of things about his company, and he has a number of lawsuits, etc., etc. But you can't get away from the fact that Elon Musk, who 20 years ago was just an idea about an electric car, and the way he has manipulated his business concerns have taken him all the way to the top, so that he's become one of the richest white men in the world. I continue to say white men because we are only listening to Western media, and we don't realize that there are people who are far wealthier than crypto dollars and dollars in the bank. They've got more wealth than Elon Musk can. But Elon Musk and Mike Zuckerberg, oh, these are, that's us when it comes to the white man. Welcome, caller. Welcome, caller.
Yes, salam alaikum, Brother Nuri.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother Ramadan.
I'm so glad to know that Allah in heaven and everywhere in the universe will be happy with your explanations of the Quranic Kitab to those that don't understand and assume wrong ideas of our faith. So I just want to say briefly and let you, may Allah continue bless you, brother, for following the Sunnah of the Prophet, because that's what we need to do, and I am very proud of you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Yeah, so this thing here that is spoken of okay. Yeah, welcome, caller. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, good morning. I'm glad that you called back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had to tell you we were on break, you see.
I want to about the people that believe where they kill people for land and homes and all kind of thing and money.
Yeah.
You know, they get away with so much murder. It's a pity they know it's those that believe they're there. In fact, if they live in America, a lot of them are going to jail.
Yeah.
So that is young lady, I'm not calling you.
Please.
She got away in the hospital, right? When the mommy and the stepper dying, not have 5 kids, right? She got the mommy don't sign to the worker to take care of her, right? So sign everything before I turn it to the older daughter, right? But she got a younger one now. She just try and she take. She got down with the hospital and make the sign paper and got big up in my house with peace. Blank papers when I even can start her. You know, for my sibling, she got she piece everything. Because she has to maintain her husband and 2 kids. You know that thing they're wrong. You understand me? And the liar, they just say that that's why liar, they go in a hell because they do things for money. They do crazy things for money. You understand me? And I think they're really, really wrong. She just, I know she threaten the whole family to make sure she get everything. These things are so wrong.
Yeah, man. Carla, one of the things, and this is one ancient problem. When I say ancient, I mean, people, they kill each other over property, man. They do everything they could,
And so people kill, so the race kill she for her land and money and the house. And they kill her. I think that's wrong, man.
Yeah, completely.
And then a brother and sister, how do you expect to get everything for you and your husband and your 2 kids?
Yeah.
You understand me? And let the rest out. This young lady wicked, man. Wicked. I shall tell.
I don't want you to call names, all right? I want you to call names. Please, don't call names.
That's a wickedness, man. People get away with too much murder and then they run for that state.
Yeah.
They do a lot of wicked things. They think wrong, man. And going straight to hell, I hope. You know, God not asleep, though. You understand me? God not asleep. They're going to hell. They will get punished to the fullest. Tell a people that belongs to you. So you want to teach what people that belongs to you. And get it signed over, liar, sign it over to she. And this paper that belongs to her, this paper belongs to her mother and the mother's siblings, not for her. She's just a crook and a thief.
All right.
Because she has to mind her husband and even want that.
All right. No go so far. All right. I get your point, sister. All right. All the best to you. Yeah. All right. And Miss Kuna, welcome to Belize. I had to look at 2 cent scam to realize that you're dead at Belize. You text me and back and forth. I thought you were still in California. Welcome home, Miss Kuna. We appreciate you, and I saw you this morning. Anyway, let me get back to this thing here about many years ago in Michael Manley's cabinet, he decided to have one of his ministers. It slips me right now what the name of that minister was. I used to remember that almost so easily. Anyway, he appointed this minister to be the Minister of Mobilization. This is way back in the 70s. And the idea was that there are many ministries that have mandates to achieve certain things during a term. But it was found that of those things that were promised, less than 40% of them were actually achieved in the particular ministry. And so a number of the manifesto promises were not being kept. And when they went, and I got this from my friend, my late friend, Bert Tucker, who worked with Michael Manley and told me about this innovative idea of establishing a ministry of mobilization, meaning that this is the minister and ministry that would be responsible to oversee these other ministries to ensure that they are fulfilling what was promised in the campaign. When Dean Barrow became minister, prime minister, excuse me, he said in my presence that he was not going to be the prime minister that was with a portfolio doing this and that, but rather he would be a super minister, so to speak, that would be observing and making sure that each one of his ministers are doing what the campaign promised people that they would do. I'm saying all of that to say, here comes Elon Musk, recognizing that within the United States there's a lot of waste. A lot of these ministries, you know, and departments as they call them in the United States, you know, they create additional jobs to do within their ministry and within their department. And so you may start off with the need to build a building. I'm trying to make it simple. But as you begin to build that building, you realize that, guess what? We can't rely on the truck that brings the sand. So we'll create a department of sand movers. And then after a while, you know, in that department of sand movers, they realize we got problem with the repairs of these particular. So we create in that same ministry a department of transport within that ministry. And so what you have over a period of 20 years or more is all this fat that started with one problem, but in the attempt to solve that problem, you hire people and then you put money in there, and then after 2 or 3 or 4 years, that is still there, but the original purpose for which it was formed is no longer there. So Musk comes along and sees that going on in the United States government, that there's a lot of stuff going on. Now USAID, the propaganda is, oh, you see, the chap USAID, etc., etc. But it's not just USAID. There are a lot of these agencies that have become fat. And in fact, they're not producing what they're supposed to produce. So Musk comes in and he's given this responsibility of Department of Efficiency or something like that. And his responsibility is to suggest to the president, this is what should be cut, that is what should be cut. And he has a whole team of very young, I saw his team, they're like 19, 20, 21, 25. I don't think he has anybody that's over 30 years old inside his team, which is a good message to us in Belize. Who are your team, Prime Minister? Who is your team, Kareem? Who is your team, Anthony Marla? Are there young people inside of your team that are helping you to achieve what you're trying to achieve, or are you using old people like us to do the same old, same old, same old? And yes, I'm saying, you know, at 76 years old, I know what I can do and I know what I have done and you know what I have done. But I am one individual. We have many people who are in the ministries that are fat, meaning non-productive. And if you don't address those non-productive persons, meaning put them on a scale, say you start here, and I want to see where you get over a period of time and over a period of resources. A lot of us can't handle that. We cannot handle that kind of scrutiny. We cannot handle that kind of magnifying glass on us. So when Musk comes along and he develops this concept of being the Department of Government Efficiency, it is an attempt to correct what we as the people, we pay our tax dollars. And the assumption is that the tax dollars will go towards what it's supposed to go towards. But after we are paying our taxes, we're not sure exactly where that's going. But you need a ministry. That Ministry of Mobilization was for that purpose. That Prime Minister Dean Barrow saying he's going to have a ministry to do that is similar to what I see this mosque is doing. Welcome, caller.
Salam alaikum, Nuri.
Wa alaikum assalam, sir.
Nuri, I want to ask the question.
Okay.
Why are people in position disrespecting our constitution? Let's look at Jerry and Beacon. Jerry and Beacon put together a lawsuit and those in power did everything, sir, to ensure that it failed. To ensure that, imagine, all of a sudden our subject matter becomes the world again. Huh? Huh? And they did everything, like I said. But why? The process, sir. Because when it got to the process, the decision has been made that the election will pull through. So there is no need for redistricting. Command, sir. And just like how we have corrupt people in government, we have corrupt people running football in this country, sir. From the federation to the association. Today is the eve of a 100th Police Football Association, sir, which doesn't have Congress members invited to this Congress. Majority of the Congress members are invited. And what brings insult to injury to Mr. Nuri is that it is not even shared on TFA Police Football Association Facebook. Top secret. That is why this evening my talk show will be speaking about the corrupt politics of football in Toledo and the country of Belize. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Good. So a free advertisement there. Well, he's making some important points. The matter of efficiency is a very important one. It's something that private sector people think much more than public sector people think. Public sector gives you a lot of leeway. And sometimes to become strict with people who are in the public sector, you create animosity. Because they feel like, where you to push me for? Why you to push me? Nobody else don't look like they run. Why you to push me? So it becomes very personal. That's not the atmosphere in a business. The atmosphere in the business is that you're being supervised to see that if you are being efficient or you're wasting. Because if you're wasting, the company is going down. If you're efficient, the company is getting what it's paying you for. And so the company takes the prerogative that if you're not to perform, you're going. Of course, they must do it according to the labor laws, etc., etc., etc. But if you get released, there's a sign that you're not meeting the expectations of that company. So that is not introduced into government. Government does not give you that cut and dry. Give you a lot of leeway, and we take advantage of that. And so as a result of it, the public suffers. So we need to understand that this idea that you're being responsible for what you're being paid for, meaning that if I come and check out, if you are responsible for doing so and so, and I don't see you to do it, then why are you getting paid? If I know to see the result of what you to do, then why are you getting paid? So a lot of us cannot handle that, but that's what happens in the private sector. So if you bring a man from the private sector and you make him the president, and then you go a next man who comes in to advise the business-minded president, and he's not a businessman, oh man, you got a lot of people there who will be pushing for efficiency and perfection and bringing a private sector thinking into our governance process. Let's take our next break. I want to make a comment on this effort being made by Mr. Ishmael Contreras, I believe was the name, a gentleman out in the Cayo area that is working on something that I wanna say, you know, kudos, because we've been talking about something like this for a long time. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Contreras has put together, compiled, I have to say, a booklet, not big, I think it's about 12 or 15 pages, but it is on the basics of driving. You saw him in our news clip. And I wanna say kudos to this gentleman because I think we've been talking a long time about this issue and we have not done substantially, we have not done anything as innovative as this. I mean, this is something that should have come from the police department, or it should have come from the Ministry of Transport. It should have come from maybe the city council, the various city councils that we have. Why? Because debt on our roadways is one of the main cause of debt. And it is a cause that can be mitigated. It is not like a person, you know, dies of a gunshot or somebody dies of a violence that just erupts. This is something that we can see over a period of time that obviously we need more attention on our roadways. And one of the basic ways to do that is to have some kind of training that will permit the person who is being trained to be better prepared when he or she gets on the road. Now, we've said many times over the years on this program that we believe that we should use what other jurisdictions have used. For example, once you enter high school in some jurisdiction or secondary school, it is mandatory, it's not a choice, it is mandatory that you take what is called driver's ed, meaning driver's education. And it is actually a class that you have to sit in. And you have a teacher who is taking you through all the steps from how the engine works, to how to change the oil, to how to give yourself a tune-up, all of these basics, and then they take you out on the road. And if you don't pass that, you're not going to graduate. That's how serious they are, at least in the jurisdiction where I was in California. You must pass driver's ed. What is the reason for that? The amount of people that die on their highways every year. And the fact that when they investigate why this accident took place, or this incident took place, some people don't like that idea of accident, but the reason why it happened, many times goes back to the driver, or goes back to a person who knows that they got a brake problem. Man, if you see you have to pump your brake to stop your brake, man, you are contributing to that accident that you got in because you couldn't stop in time. If you look on your tire and your tire ball like one bald head man, and you're riding around on that, man, you're contributing to the accident that you will get in, because when you try to stop that, especially on a rainy day, you're going to slide right into whatever you're sliding into. You're partially responsible for that accident. Sometimes you kill people. And you go to the court and you pay $2,000 for the death of that person because that person was not a big-time person. You kill one big-time person, you don't pay no $2,000 and no serve no jail time, and you'll be drunk. So we've got to get more strict in trying to deal with the matters that we say we're serious about, rather than make one lot of noise about it. You know, there's a word called start with B, where you make one lot of noise about a thing, but in reality, that's just noise. You're not doing anything about it. So we've been complaining for over 20, 30 years about the debt on of the people on the highways. And we are very slow. Kudos to the Commissioner of Police that is now trying to put more attention on traffic stops and checkpoints and etc., etc. I think maybe he's got to go back to about 20 years ago. I remember G. Mike was police press officer at the time when they introduced highway patrol. And then they introduced breathalyzer. And then they introduced all these various techniques that were supposed to be part of the police process over the monitoring of the highways. It ain't there. So what are we monitoring for? Revenue. Revenue. Because if you ask me for my license and I got my license and you give me a ticket, that's revenue. If you're looking for insurance and I don't have it, that's revenue. But you know, I might have my license, I might have got my insurance, but my vehicle not work. It's not working properly. So you don't have people stopping on the road to say, well, listen, let me see your light, let me check your brakes, or you don't have that. And then when you go to get your license, man, that Papi Shaw. That's what this brother is saying, Ishmael Contreras is saying, it's Papi Shaw. Anybody could get a license. And then when you have a situation where many vehicles are tinted to the point you can't see who is driving, then it makes it an additional disincentive for a person to try to take that tint off of his vehicle. He rides around and he disrespects you, or you jump in front of you or whatever, and you don't know who that person is. Some of them got some big old fancy vehicle. When you look who's driving the vehicle, he's 16, 17 year old boy, Kaipa Rich. Where he know about the road? Who gave him a license there? You remember that one up in Belmopan when knocked the legal down in the crosswalk, and he knocked the legal down. So we need to be straightened up, man. Welcome, caller. Welcome, sir. I'm excited this morning.
All right. Good topic.
Yeah.
They talk about tinted vehicle.
Yeah.
The minister have the most darkest vehicle in our country. When I tell them, brother, dark. And they take this fight, but the people can't see when they pass. So for them people already, they violate the law. So if the ministers and they do it, what do you think the people are saying? The highest in authority to break the law, or yet they are more punish the people. It don't make no sense. Those people and the ministers should never have their dark things on it. Never. And every day you see that dark things in people. The brother that bring out the book and the guidelines, the safety on the road and things, that's a very, very, very good idea. But I hope the brother is not discriminating because I'm a Rasta man. Because sometimes they punish the messenger. No?
My brother, that is us right here.
Very good message. The brother they bring, but they punish the messenger just because of who he is.
That's right.
It's how this country works. And what's the situation right now with the redistricting effort for brother Enriquez? When you look at them brother like this man alone, now this is something the whole country. The state to use our money to fight against this brother that is doing the right thing. The Constitution said that they must have redistricting. And the state to use our money to fight against this citizen and his message.
Yeah. Bring out
after they get an alliance, I know that hundreds of $1,000
you can't get Courtney. Yeah, you can't get Courtney and Smith for no little bit of chump change.
And it's against we for the right thing.
And Carla, Jerry had said, and he said it when he was on the show here a couple of days ago, last week actually, that where are the unions? Where's the Chamber of Commerce? Where are these other governance processes like labor, private sector, this is just as much their fight as it is Jerry Enriquez and Nigel Petillo and the next young lady. It's all of us. It's all of us. But those persons there, they kind of have a governance responsibility because they are part of the governance process. We say we've got a government, we've got private sector, and we got labor. So this is not what Jerry Enriquez is doing, and even before that time with Bobby Lopez and the Belize Peace Movement. This is a principled position. This is not, Jerry wants something or then they try put one political thing against the PUP. I said, no, man. This is a principled position. And so the unions who make noise over issues, the BNTU, should have been weighing in on this. The PSU, Mr. Dean Flowers, should have been weighing in on this. Why? Because politics work on crowds. It works on numbers. And so if we could isolate this, what's wrong with Jerry Heen? What's wrong with it? We could isolate him and make it look as though he's not a problem. But if the unions, they stand up, that's the way they stood up when the stevedores, they felt shame. And so after a while, when Yaya started to shame, all of them come out want to support the stevedores. But they didn't support the stevedores when they started. They sat right back here and watched the stevedores, they're all by themselves. So what is it? The only when it touched teachers? It's only when it touched public officers? Is that only time you make noise? What about governance? And this issue that was brought forward by Jerry, that's a governance issue. How could you be quiet? How could you? Now he wants statement from BNTU. Now he wants statement from PSU. Now he wants statement from the Chamber of Commerce. And it affects all of us. We've made noise here in the media, but we are only a part of the process. There are other powerful elements within Belize that should have weighed in on this matter as far back as when Arthur Saldiva and the others.
What I have seen over the years, when evil, they put food on your table, you don't see the truth there. When evil, they put food on your table, you do not see the truth. That's why I tell a woman, I don't join no organization because they have their own agenda. And sometimes you, the organization, can't come out after nothing.
Yeah.
Because you have to be a consensus. Everybody have to either work so.
Yeah.
I will talk my mind. That's why I don't join no organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, when you look across the board, the amount of people they collect and pay for doing nothing. We got a lot of boards in this country. And Brother June show a chart to the amount of boards the people they got $1,000 a day in a month. So what? And when you look at it, the people will have very good jobs today. Administrators, they have 2-3 boards, they collect still about $1,000 by each board.
Yeah.
All of that needs to be trimmed away. More people have to get jobs if you cut down on those things. Many of them on these boards knew it. And the people are already established that have good jobs and still on these boards, they collect money. Well, a lot of evil happening in this country, brother. And that's why you have asked you a personal question, because I have never done it before. I have never sit down with no Prime Minister of this country in my life, and I don't have no interest to. How you feel when you among them, brothers, knowing the intention against us, knowing that they have their personal agenda, family agenda, friends, and then to get rich, and knowing that a rise in the tailway, because when they get in and said redistricting take place 4 years ago, and now what way they go through the courts. When one thing like this should have happened in an term, how can I rise and bring up how you feel when you sit down one leave, brother? Because I tell you the truth. They can't give me a glass of water, my brother. So my thing to you, how you really feel when you sit down among them?
I don't hate none of them. I understand that we are dealing with a process here. I look at what strengths I have, and I also look at what weaknesses I have. And I choose the battle that I think I can make a difference. Turning this ship that is going in this direction to the opposite direction That's not how things take place. It has to be a very gradual process of moving it from where it is to where you want it to be. And so, cow no belong in a horse gallop. And so I no try to put myself in our area where obviously, you know, I no belong here. But if I am talking to, as I have had the opportunity to talk to politicians one-on-one, I have never held back my opinion on what I think needs to be. But I've never decided that I'm going to jump up and bring you down because you to do what you to do. Because I don't see any of them as being, you know, in that situation where we need to have, where I call one violent revolution in order to change what we see going on. I think we can still, I have faith that we can, yeah, we can still bring this country to where we want it to be. We're not at the point of a violent revolution. And let me tell you that in my young days, I went through a phase where I was ready to bring it down. But I have matured. And I understand that these things cannot be done unless you've got a groundswell of understanding, or what they call it, a critical mass. Other than that, you're a voice shouting in the dark. And so,
I respect your opinion.
yeah, so I'm giving you my,
I respect your opinion, and I could tell you this. A revolution will take place.
it's coming. But it has to be wide.
Yeah. People out there, you see a lot of blue shirt or red shirt, I think things are right. Because circumstances, people have to deal with that. Because they have a pressure. But to put a t-shirt at $25 a crowd in civic, I think that's a big deal to people. That put a butter and soup on a table because they're punished. So while I believe that they got a crowd and the crowd, they don't mentally lot of them people is they click. So they got to be careful.
Yeah.
So your enemy could stand up right there with you.
Yeah.
You know, this place, they got to be careful, I tell you.
Indeed.
Yeah, enemy could be right at their side.
Yeah.
So, Brother Nuri, like always, brother,
Yes.
take care and God bless.
All right, my brother. Good to see you. Good to see you the other day, too. You're looking strong. Let's take our next break. It's 35 minutes now after 8 o'clock.
In Belize, we
And it's almost close time for us to close off today. Our number here is 280-5848, 280-5848, and we encourage you to call and to weigh in. My last comment today is directed at the PCC, the People's Constitutional Committee or Commission. This started with great hopes, a lot of hoopla, a lot of hype, a lot of promises that this is going to be what we have been looking for a long time. That is, that this would be an opportunity for all of us as citizens to weigh in on these principles in our Constitution for amendment purposes or introducing new sections within the Constitution itself. I know that a lot of work have been done. The way in which it was set up is that they identified individuals from various groups so that the Business Bureau would have had a representative, Chamber would have had a representative, the church would have had a representative, etc., etc. And then those individuals would go and represent their constituency, so to speak, and say, we have listened to our people and this is what we bring to the process. This didn't always work as they had planned it to work, because a lot of people complained that no one came to check with me. I'll say, for example, that there is a religious representative on it, but the religious representative is Catholic and Protestant, and they have never made any effort at all to try to find out what Muslims think should be in that constitution. So you are skewing your broad base input by only having people who only speak to their members and only speak to their fellows, rather than do a broad sweep and say, let me find out, since I'm representing religion here on this, let me find out what the Muslims think. Let me find out what the Baha'is think. Let me think what the Rasta think. Let me hear what the... You need to do that as opposed to arrogantly going forward and say, well, we represent the church. That is old-time thinking. That is old-time thinking. We no longer have one established original church. The reality of a Queen of England being the head of the church for the Anglican, or the Pope of Rome being the head of the church for the Catholic, and that's all you need, that's not what's going on in Belize. You've got Jehovah's Witnesses, you've got evangelicals, you've got all kinds of different religious representation. And that goes on not only with them, but broader. I'll say the rest after this call. Welcome, caller.
Hey, good morning, Brother Nuri.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Dean Florence here.
Hey, welcome, Brother Dean.
Oh, you're calling my name. So
I call your name, I intentionally call your name Dean because you're always out there in the front, and I hope that you're listening, so I'm glad you called, sir.
Yeah, Nuri. I will respond to, or at least I'll express my views on the state of affairs in terms of the lack of participation, the lack of involvement, the lack of activism by citizens across Belize. I think that it is unfair for us to continue as a society, no? It is unfair for us to continue to simply look at quote unquote the unions. And when I use the word unions, I want people to understand that there are around 13 unions in this country. And when it comes to activism, we've seen the CWU, the BNTU, and the PSU for the most part. I don't even know if 50% of the Belizean public is aware of who the other unions are. And the question that each of us should be asking ourselves is,
Who makes up these unions? Who makes up these unions? Let's take the PSU. Who makes up the PSU? The PSU is made up by the very citizens who are complaining about where the unions are. Your mother is in there, your father is in there, your brother is in there, your sister is in there, your cousin is in there, your uncle is in there, your son is in there, your daughter is in there. That statement might not apply to everybody, but by the people there who we interact with every day make up these unions. Yes, these unions have a face. And I'm proud to say that throughout my tenure, my voice has been heard. I've always been on the front line. I've never backed down. I am perhaps one of the loudest voices to have supported this claim that you just spoke about. The record will show that every time we'll hear Bobby Lopez and there, I was there as a citizen, not as a union leader, as a citizen, because I have a duty as a citizen to ensure the Constitution is upheld and to champion good governance in this country. And so I think you did me one low this morning when you said we're being fraud. Come on, Nuri. I am one out of the 450,000 people. Each individual should be looking in the mirror and asking themselves, what am I doing to make the country better? What am I doing to lend even a voice to what's happening? If it was left to me, Nuri, you think there would be any election? You think any public officer would go there to work? Election that is unconstitutional, that is illegal, that is contrary to the Constitution? Hell no. But I am one voice. It's thousands of officers, and the brother that just called said it. These organizations need consensus, and these organizations are divided across political lines. So it's not an easy thing. It's about how do we get to a point where each of us takes personal responsibility for our actions and our inactions. And it clearly demonstrates that as parents, we've done a horrible job in educating and informing our children and building that spirit of patriotism and activism within them. So when the teachers went out there on the platform of good governance, where was the Belizean people? Where was the Belizean people? Recently, we hear one South Korean company got a huge multi-million-dollar contract to provide surveillance. There is a union that stands to be affected by that. There is a country that stands to be affected by that because that is a national asset. Where is the voice been? Who is supposed to call out these things? Jean Flowers, Media Harris, and away from them, you see? We are only we're just one voice in this wilderness. And so, I think that I don't have the answer in terms of how we organize our people, but more importantly in terms of how we sensitize and educate our people on the importance of participatory democracy. I don't have the answer. But like the brother, I am hopeful that one day that revolution will come. And I'm hopeful that one day I will be part of that revolution, even if it means that my life is taken, because my kids deserve better. And I will forever defend myself when it comes to calling out the wrong. But brother, when we look at the Integrity Commission, you call out the chamber. The president of the chamber sits on the Integrity Commission. The chamber has no interest in good governance. Have they ever spoken out on what's happening there? The senator for the chamber went to the House on Monday and said, well, I don't know if this lady qualifies to be the accountant general, the auditor general, or no. I know I gone through this, I have a CPA, I that, I don't know what this lady got. But Jared Gwan, appoint Andrew to be the auditor general. Who they call him? Who they call out that brother there? And is it then that I'm supposed to pick a fight with everybody? Because it's not picking a fight, it's calling out everybody and then just come up public enemy number one. For what purpose? And so I also have to, like you rightly said, you know how to pick your battles. They can have no business in a crowd ballot. And I found out that every time you call out people, they take it personal. They take it very personal. So I have to defend my constituency, Nuri, and I have to save my energy to defend my constituency.
I hear you.
I can't take one fight with everybody else.
I hear you.
So I really have to call it because you called me on this morning, and I think you did us a low. Or at least you did me.
I did it intentionally, and it was not meant to be a low, but it was calling out those points of light within a very dark environment, and you happen to be one of those. And I didn't call you out, Dean Flowers, as Dean Flowers the person, but what you represent. You represent one of the largest unions. And I agree with you, you know, maybe there's a lot of dynamics that we don't quite understand. But the unions should have stepped out, and you said 13 unions. They should have stepped out, because if the unions had gotten behind the Belize Peace movement, and certainly this last effort on the part of Jerry Enriquez, this matter would have been dealt with outside of the court, because these public officers are the ones who man the election process. And if they had said, no, we think that this has a problem and we need to look upon this, it would have been an additional voice. But those three persons, Will Mejia, Bobby Lopez, those who were at the Belize Peace movement, and then now this latest effort again, three persons, it looked as though it's an isolated group. Like, what do they? What do they? As opposed to having a large group of people behind them saying, look, they're just the point of the iceberg here, but underneath, we are giving complete support. So I did not call you out of disrespect. I have tremendous respect for you. I think your integrity is intact. But I did try to make you understand, because you say it 2 times, and I have to say that I did not do it with any kind of, you understand me? So.
And I want to recognize Brother Hubert Enriquez in this fight as well.
Yes, and that struggle that's going on there with those officers. Yeah.
Brother Hubert is a sitting president of the NTUCB, and he has brought this matter to the NTUCB, but brother, from since the struggle started, Paul Morgan and the crowd. And I keep saying the NTUCB is made up of 13 unions, which comprise of people, masters and brothers and sisters and cousins and daughters and uncles and aunties. The over 7,000 to 8,000 workers we represent the NTUCB, and Brother Hubert bring it there. And he was unable to move that organization, to move its members, to move their families. So really, you, the listener, you, the problem, they're not the NTUCB, they're not the workers, they're not the union, they're you, because man, they are sitting right up on the front burner for years, brother.
Yeah, my brother.
And nobody cares.
Yeah.
And the simple answer is always, well, people busy with them bread and butter. You're busy with your bread and butter, you are forever the struggle for bread and butter, because you don't want to fix one broken system.
Yeah.
We're designed to ensure that you continue to struggle, people.
Yeah.
And until people understand that the challenges that we're going to face is as a direct result of the poor governance that we've been under since 1964, my brother, we just got to pray and hope that the revolution comes quicker and that it doesn't delay any longer. That's all I can say.
You've said a lot this morning.
I don't give up, but I recognize also that there's only so much those of us who are awoke can do.
All right, good. Well, thank you very much, my brother, and respect to you all the time. Yes, sir. All right, we'll end here, and we'll go out with this ad by saying that this is a process that we're working here. This is not fixed. I don't care what the UDP or the PUP have been saying over the last 42 years. Belize is not a finished product. We are working on this. And certain sacred cows have to be exposed. And we are so, we're so thin-skinned that even the comments I'm making here, which are in the right spirit, I could be penalized for it. Somebody want to hold grudge or who he? If you Nuri, look at. And all I'm doing here is not even trying to score political points or talk about any personality, but we're talking about principles. But we got a society here where it's very, very easy for you to become an enemy of somebody who just not like you. And when you don't like you, he start to throw dirty water upon you, in this and that and so on. And many of us who are not critical thinkers, we join on. Yeah, me think either, so on, so on, so. So because of that kind of environment, people don't want to get involved. It takes bravery for those brothers at the Belize Peace Movement to go out like that. Because they don't got no crowd behind it. It takes courage for Jerry Enriquez and his colleagues to be doing what they're doing, because a lot of criticism by the side, what they do? As opposed to, boy, even one text to say, Jerry, keep up the good work. Arthur, keep up the good work. Bobby, keep up the good work. We don't get that. Where we get that criticism in the market, what you need to do? You must try to get position, or where you got a problem against Dean, or you got a problem against this one. So, we don't make it easy to protest in this society. The protest that we make is always a hollering. We're going and we are do it, and we do it now, but after that, we settle down again. So revolution does not come by only insurrection. Fidel Castro said that a long time ago. There are two parts of a revolution. One is insurrection, but the other one is the long, drawn-out process of correcting the system, and that takes years upon top of years. So those of us who want to jump out there, you got that energy for insurrection, I don't want to get rid of that energy, because that energy does have a use. But I know when you get out in the street and frighten the government and you bring out the BDF and etc., 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 watch how they want to do it. No, they want to deal with you, manage you, and then go right back to the same thing. So revolution is not just insurrection. Revolution is a long strategic move to correct a system that needs to be replaced. All right. So we thank you for being with us this morning, and I want to thank those who supported us. We have our brother downstairs, Anthony Grant. Upstairs we had Miss Alexi Bilad, and of course we have Mr. Cliff, but he was replaced by Mr. Harlan Wagner this morning. Belizeans, stand strong and stand firm, and remember to do the right thing. For now, we're gone!